This is Andy.
Dr. Allgood, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Allgood.
My computer was not wanting to be a friend tonight.
Oh, and I'm sorry about that. I'm so glad you're here. So, Eric, share with us about Lyn. Lyn's on the line here. She's looking at a beautiful, beautiful smile.
This is Lyn, who, gosh, Paula, she attended dental boot camp about the same time you were, probably, Paula, and with her original doctor. She's heard it all before. She's a master at the verbal skills that we coach and train, and she's a recently retired hygienist. Congratulations, Lyn. Yay.
Thank you. It was 2 weeks ago.
She just moved from Alaska to Las Vegas, so she's trying different spectrums here. And she's on the coaching team now for hygiene training, admin training. So we're just really excited for her to bring her knowledge. She has her MBA. She's got it all. So we're excited to have her be a part of the team as a coach. So she's now available. Yeah, she's now available. So already working with clients too, which is great.
Yay.
Yay.
Welcome to the team, Lyn. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm excited too.
You know, we all need help with hygiene, don't we?
Yeah, well, yes, we do, because it's a backbone of the practice. We all know that.
I think in the last couple of years, some of our hygiene departments need a course correct. What would you like to share with us about what's happening in the hygiene world right now, or what are some of the top things?
So and as you know, probably all over the United States, there is a lack of hygienists, and that's been a problem. I did not help by retiring. And I never leave work without a fill-in, but the last 2 years, including just recently, we have not had a good hygiene fill-in. I never leave my office without a hygiene fill-in, but it was so hard to get somebody. So to replace me in the office, because I work 4/10s, and then at one point I worked 4/10s and 2/8s, we had hired a new graduate from Utah, and she's doing really well. We started her coaching right away, right off the bat. So she's good to go. Before I left, she was there for about 2 months. We got her started on it. So I feel confident that she's going to do a good job.
That's awesome. That's great that you found your own replacement before you left, right?
Yeah, well, doctor was like frantic, like, oh boy, I gave him 2 months. So we should be okay.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So how did you start training a new hygienist right out of school? What are some things that you do? Do you have a checklist or?
Yeah, so I have in my hygiene team, I put together a flow chart of things that, like for instance, if you have a new patient that's coming in that you have not seen before, how do you work with that patient? Mm-hmm. So we go with the new patient verbal skills, and then also when the patient comes in and sees the hygienist, what do you do? There's so many codes that you could use, from regular Profi to gross debridement to 43, 46. Those are new codes, and so we put together, so give them an idea where to go from there. So from there we could we get our patients on track, especially if they're perio patients, and also get the front team on board with us, because it's important to bill properly these things. And we also have a perio protocol for treatment planning. And now we have new classification for perio, so we're working at that as well. We're still trying to figure that out.
Now, what do you see with the new classification of perio? What do you see that's really different, or where are people getting stuck with that?
Okay, so it's because we're stuck with the classification of chronic and acute, and now we have included the implants, and the classification of stages, and the grading, and now we can also see how if you can see, there's a special code for perio that's a they're good to go, but there's also perio that's active. So those classifications, it's more intricate and more specific is what I'm seeing, but it's still new. And so we're still learning. There's 4 of us hygienists there that we're talking about it constantly. So
yeah, that's a big deal for a lot of practices. Is, I see a lot of approval addiction with perio, especially where the team is afraid to put someone in a perio classification because it affects their insurance, and insurance doesn't pay well, and it creates more work for the admin and blah, blah, blah.
yeah. But in the long run, it's good for the practice, because when you diagnose a patient with perio, one, you make sure that the patient's got good care. Second, it's good for the practice because this person is going to come back for a 3-month recall. And it's better for them because in the long run, they're going to have better healing. And that's what the protocol is all about, is to get them back on the recare on a regular basis.
That's right. Yeah. And go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, just understanding your perio percentage is eye-opening sometimes when you look at it and go, how is our perio percentage at 9% when it ought to be, 30, 35, 40%? And what are we doing, not doing to fix that, to get it healthy? And I love having a hygienist on the team who can speak to it and talk about it in a way that just I can't.
Well, I think hygienists respect hygienists mostly. And, I've brought this up before, and this came from the Insurance Solutions newsletter. And what we have here since COVID, we've got this increase. We've got a 29% increase in periodontal disease. And I don't know if practices realize that. Maybe they're seeing it, but they're not seeing it. I don't know. What do you think, Lyn?
Okay, so I think what's happening is this, and I've been in this practice where we started with the boot camp. I've been here for over 20 years, and we started with a really very robust periodontal therapy protocol. And every new patient gets periodontal screening, of course, and they're classified back in the day. And we introduce them to the care, and if they have everybody gets that periodontal evaluation. If they're perio, we don't have this approval addiction that we couldn't tell the patient, hey, you have a problem. And every once in a while they say, oh, I've never heard that before. So there's another verbal skills that hygienists can do to say, well, this is a chronic disease that is a up and down kind of disease, depends on your immune system. And so we go from there, and then we put them in a periodontal procedure and periodontal therapy, and we have a system where I try not to do 2 quadrants of root planing at one time. And this is one thing I emphasize to the hygienists, because a lot of time when we do perio scaling, they want to do half. And there's, I guess, 2 schools of thought there.
Yeah.
But some of them want to do half of the mouth at a time, and some do quadrant scaling. Well, I fall in the category of quadrant scaling because I tend to go back to the areas I've done before. I usually start with the worst area first, and then go back, and then the next visit I go to the second area, and I visit the area that I started before. And at that time too, I can see the healing, and I can talk to the patient about what needs to be done. Right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. You probably didn't know I was going to ask you all those questions, but so I apologize for catching you off guard there, but you did great. I mean, this is what we want to hear. Obviously, you're passionate about it, and you know how to teach it. There's some people are great hygienists, but they don't know how to help other people, and they don't know how to teach it. So it sounds like you've really got it going on there. So excited to see. I mean, we might have another hygiene retreat in our future. Eric?
Yes. For sure.
All right. So what are some other things do we have some questions from the group tonight? I want to make sure we cover any questions that we have in the group. I know a lot of people are on mute. You can put your question in chat as well. Eric, are you getting some questions this week for different things?
It's everything seems to be centering around how do I retain employees? How do I hire employees? And then how do I train them? How do I get them up to speed? What's an organized way to train an employee? We're so busy. We're so focused on the practice. We're booked out so far. There's no time to really take a step back, have a team meeting, and implement a significant training process. So,
you're so right. I hear that as well. I sent this out in an email to, I don't know if it was all of our groups, but to a lot of doctors that came out from Cedar Solutions. I thought was really good, of employee engagement and retention. And I think, sometimes we're so busy managing the practice, we're not able to lead. Does that make sense? We're so busy putting out fires or just keeping things running that we're not leading. Leading is another ball game. So I thought this was pretty cool statistics right here of set the vision, which we talk about vision all the time. Set the vision, multiply the people, and deliver results. So what all does that mean? And there is a description here, which follows pretty much the 80-20 principle. Does everybody know what the 80-20 principle is? I bet you remember that, Lynn, from years ago, right? 80%, in dentistry, we talk about 80% of our production comes from the top 20% patients. 80% of our trouble comes from the bottom 20% patients.
Hope I'm not there.
Yeah. And I want to ask my dentist someday, like, am I one of your top 20% patients? I want to be. I think we ought to have ribbons for our top 20% patients or something, like wear it in the reception area, big old fat blue ribbon. Like, how did you get that? Well, I never cancel and I always pay my bill and I always do the treatment they recommend. Yeah. But 87% of your team is less likely to leave if they're engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, what does that mean to you? Like engagement?
Well, I think the growth. Are they engaged in growth and opportunities to get trained and learn? It was 1% of employees get disgruntled when they have positive interaction with their supervisor. The other 99%, it was split, ignored or negative feedback, and they just disengage. And so we're talking about positive feedback, which is coaching direction, which is opportunity for growth, which is teaching where to go. And the hard part is taking the time out of your day to make that happen. So, 4 hours a month of training opportunity is really what it's about.
It really is. And so what do you say to a practice that says, well, we're just trying to keep our heads above water. We don't have time to do those meetings.
Yeah. I try not to laugh.
Yeah, I know. But studies have shown that you could be 30% more productive if you have effective meetings.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking about having meetings that are gripe sessions. We're talking about meetings with an agenda where you take some of our training videos or manuals and you're going through and you listen to them together, press pause, and practice. Right?
Yep.
I'm not a huge fan, Eric, of doctors just giving videos to team members to listen to on their own.
That's right.
Unless we're going to have that team member give a presentation about what they just heard. And we're going to talk about what action items they got from this. I think we just send people away with a video and we don't have a discussion about it. Well, that's definitely against engagement, which is what's going on right here. So let's read 50% of more employees are 50% more engaged at profitable companies than unprofitable ones. Of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Teams with high engagement levels experience more than 20% higher sales. So that kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it? What's the chicken and what's the egg? What do you think? I think you have to have an environment where you provide engagement so that you can have the production.
Yep.
True?
Yeah. And you're right, which leads to what first? You have to take the time out to make it happen.
You really do. You have to create that culture. You can't just be worker bees all the time and expect things to move. When things are going well and we're really busy, we think we can get away without the meetings. But then we hit a blip on the radar and everything falls apart. All the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought this was a powerful document. And if you want to know more, if you need a copy of it, let us know. We'll send it. It should be in an email that you had maybe a week or two ago. What else are some questions from the group? What are some things you're seeing? What are some things that you have questions about? Dr. Allgood, you've been at the dental school lately?
No, the end of this semester is right here, and that I'm waiting to see what my schedule is going to be. I've been more at the beach having to take care of some things than going to the school recently, which is okay.
At the beach, yeah, right. I know. Well, you do have work at the beach because you have a house there that you've been working on, right?
Yeah, we finally finished it though. We have our first renters last week, so it's okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, but the school itself is at the end of the semester, and I'm not sure what the schedule is going to be yet for the new group of seniors coming in.
Oh, yeah. How many? Now this is University of Georgia, by the way, that we're talking about, or is that right? University of Georgia?
Correct. Well, the Medical College of Georgia. Yeah.
Medical College of Georgia. Okay. All right.
It's not in Athens. It's in Augusta.
In Augusta, which is where you are. Yeah. So
Correct.
about how many students are graduating this spring? Do you know?
It's like 80.
80. Okay. Is that a big class or not a big class?
Considering my class had 30 in it, it's pretty big for me. But
Okay.
they will be getting up to 100 before it's all over with.
Really?
Yeah. So that's increasing.
So do you know now? I'm calling on you here. If you don't have this information, that's fine. But are you seeing like a lot of internationals in the classes, mostly women? What's the mix that you've experienced?
As far as internationals, are you speaking of those who have gone to other dental schools coming in?
Like they came from another country?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that they were going to do. They have not been doing that as far as bringing in people who went to dental school in another country and then coming here to finish their education. As far as the demographics, a lot of females, I would say, bumping 50%.
Okay.
As far as the ethnic diversity, a lot of the Middle Eastern Indians,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that much diversity between the, as far as African Americans. There are some there, but 70% of the ones that are not the Indian ethnicity are about Caucasian, and the rest may possibly be African Americans.
Gotcha. Okay. Where do you think, if you know, where do you think they're going to go after school? Are they going into corporate or are they going into private practice?
I've talked to a number of them. Ones that I talked with are going into private practice.
Oh, good.
That's I think that might be a small portion. I talked to I hadn't been down there that long. I talked with some of the faculty members, and they said that the groups like Heartland and Aspen are hitting them pretty heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Eric,
you
what did
know,
we just, what did we just read an article where Heartland gave 32 million to a dental school in North Carolina?
Up University.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. I just wonder what you're seeing there in Georgia, because we hear that a lot. And Dr. Allgood, is, we were mentioning this before you got on, you're going to be at the retreat and talking about your transition, which was successful. And you also have second businesses. We talk about retirement. You're retired now and you're helping at the dental school some, and doing some other things in real estate. And, you know, the question is, and we're going to be sending out that survey pretty soon, is who are you apart from dentistry? If you didn't have dentistry, what would you be doing with your life? Right now, Lyn, you just retired from dentistry after how many years? You're on mute, by the way. Yeah.
40 years.
40 years.
40 years in hygiene and lifetime in dentistry. Let me explain that. My parents met in dental school.
Oh, how about that?
Actually, I was supposed to, how should I say, take over their practice, but I decided to leave the country.
Oh, there you go.
I was in dental school. I was a senior and left the country.
Wow.
Here.
That's an
Oh, but I
amazing
was
story.
in the Philippines, yeah.
Ah, so you went to the
Yeah, I did not go to dental school here. Like doctor was talking about going to another dental school here because I was a senior and I did not really want to be a dentist in the first place.
Yeah.
But I love hygiene. And so, yeah, I did retire. So let me tell you about my dad. When he retired, his idea of himself is a dentist. And this is, you know, I'm concerned about the dentist's mental health more than anything, because my parents retired here. They came here, and my dad's always been a dentist. You know, my mom's a dentist, but they retired before they're 60. So so you know, my sister-in-law took over their practice, and so when my dad retired, I said, Dad, you're no longer a dentist, but you're still a grandpa. That's your new job, is a grandpa. So he came over and took care of my kids.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. Dr. Allgood's a smart businessman, really sharp. And so I'm looking forward to having him here to talk to us at the retreat as well. So Eric, we had some other things on our list tonight about like inflation and dental insurance.
Yeah, dental insurance, how that's affecting inflation.
Yeah, what are you seeing out there, Eric? I mean,
It's just, I started at 7 a.m. this morning with a client in New Jersey, and I was thinking New York or New Jersey, and I'm just shocked at the costs that he has to deal with while the reimbursement, he's in network with everything, and the reimbursement is so low. And it just makes it impossible to function without either adding some stuff, like using Lyn to talk about irrigation or fluoride or 6 x-rays or all the things, laser, rinse, selling all the things in addition to it and hoping patients buy in. Or how do we move out of that? And the challenge for him is, the goal would be like, hey, I'm in network, so I get all these patients. He has 1 day a week of hygiene. I mean, it's not like insurance is bringing him all kinds of patients, that would be the goal. And so that system is so broken sometimes that you have to really take a step back and go, okay, how do we do this? And that's a very slow boat to turn. It's a big monster ship. You can't just go, all right, we're out of network. And so many offices are looking at saying, should I resign from insurance? Should I do something different to help cover the costs right now? Do I need to do some add-on things, add-on services?
Yeah, like what is inflation right now? 8.5% or something?
It seems like every time I turn around, it goes up.
Yeah, I mean, it may be higher than that. I don't know. I can't keep up. But I was talking to a team recently about products and how product sales can really help boost your production. It's not so much labor. And I think we leave that out sometimes, and products aren't really covered by insurance. So they'd be paying out of pocket for that full fee. If you build value enough in the product, people will we'll go for it, right?
Yeah, it's all in making sure there's benefits, that they're seeing a benefit to what you're offering. You know, I'll see one office charging, I don't know, $45 for fluoride, and they've got a 5% usage rate, 10% usage rate. So one hygienist, you know, getting $1,500 a month in production from it. And then another office, they're charging $20 to $25 for fluoride, and they have an 80% usage rate, and it's a $3,500 a month production item. And so more patients are getting healthy, and the practice is healthier for it. I mean, fluoride costs us $2. It's something that's not going to hurt us on the inflation side, but helps cover the cost. And so that's one of those things where I actually look at, how can we make it affordable for people to go, oh, I'll pay $20 if my insurance doesn't cover it. And half the time the insurance covers it anyway.
Right. It's all about the benefit question. You know, are we trying to sell a product? Or are we selling the benefit?
Yep.
What this is going to do for you.
Yep.
So starting with that benefit statement is really more important than the feature of the product. And I think we spend too much time on the features of the product instead of what's this going to do for me.
Yep.
You know, so dental insurance, inflation, it's just kind of a crazy thing. I'm seeing some plans dropping their maximum. Have you seen that, Eric?
Yes, in-network or out-of-network benefits are being cut. So instead of them saying, hey, we're going to cut your fees, you know, go from 800, you know, Crown approved fee to 700, they're just reducing the annual maximum from 2,000 to even 1,000 for in-network benefits.
Yeah, and I heard one went 1,000 to 750 or something.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So this is not fun. I mean, Lynn, what were you seeing in Alaska on insurance? Did you get involved in that very much?
No, I did not get involved with that very much, but my office, I think Eric can verify this. We don't have a lot of PPO.
That's good. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the goal.
That is exactly.
For some people. Now, some would argue that and say, no, I got to stay on insurance or I won't stay afloat. I think we have to do the math.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a math equation.
It's still important to the patients, you know, that they maximize their insurance.
Of course, and we can still do that. We can still do that. The squeeze that the dentists are getting caught in right now, as we said, is inflation, where their costs are going up. And if they're 70, I mean, the average dental practice is 72 to 75% PPO. And if you've got that many PPO patients in your practice and your overhead is going up and the insurance reimbursements are not, what do you do? You know? So I've had some teams talking about putting in the models fee or something like that, you know. Talk about that, Eric, a little bit, how we can.
Yeah. So we actually have an opt-out form for offices that are in network, where if you're doing a large case, you can, and not with Delta, but basically everybody else, you could get away with an opt-out form and saying, hey, I'm not buying cheap crowns here. I know I'm going to be paying more out of pocket, and I'm okay with that. And if you can show the insurance company they've initialed that, saying we're going to use a better lab, we're going to be using a better quality crown because of, you know, the type of smile I want, that's what we want. They opt out of that. They sign that. And now you can charge your UCR for a full mouth case. We don't typically do it for like one crown at a time, but you know, full mouth stuff, more patients are open to it. So, yeah.
And we have to be careful with that. And you have to know your plans. You know, I have some people who've been doing that for a while. Charging, you know, giving them options to a better denture, a better crown. You know, we're going to do a cosmetic
implant supported dentures. Yep, for sure.
So
and it's usually the larger case stuff, because a lab bill on an all-in-4 could be $20,000 for upper and lower. You know, you're not going to get away with, you know, doing a case for, you know, these fees that are there. Just not going to work.
You can't do it. But you really have to be careful, because I've seen practices get audited and they had to return the money. So you got to be very, very careful about that, what you're doing. But so I think another thing that we can be doing when we're in this high inflationary some call it hyperinflationary period, is to really be looking at our budgets, looking at our overhead. Eric, you probably know this as well as I do. There's so many doctors who don't look at that. They have no idea. The team is buying, they're not buying the generic Post-it notes. They're buying the cute ones with the hearts and, and the brand name and running up costs. Now, office supplies aren't usually a huge part of a team's budget, but dental supplies got to be shopping around. We talked about that last month.
Yes. And I am still working on the Dandy. In fact, I'll email Chris and John right now and just say, hey, we want to introduce everybody to Dandy for potential savings. So I'll do that.
I had somebody ask me about that today, actually.
Yeah, I will put it out again and I'll CC you on it, Paula, too.
Okay. All right. So for those that didn't hear that from last month, tell us what that's about, Eric.
So when I do some work for DSO organizations, and they always get special rates on their supplies. They get amazing rates because they're buying in bulk. And so Dandy does an amazing deal for that, for the DSO stuff. And what I'm trying to do is say, hey, we've got, I don't know, Paula, how many of us, I mean, probably between us, I don't know, 100 to 150 clients that we could put in this network and say, all right, here's your contact with Dandy. This is a group that has buying power, and just try to create our own buying power. We'll do that through Lyn Dental Partners, John and Chris McClure, and Dr. Alex Giannini, who's goes way back to boot camp days with Heartland with me. So yeah. We'll get them enrolled, and hopefully, fingers crossed, prayers up, that they can maybe cut us a deal. So I'm going to send that right now.
Exactly. And then making sure our fees are in the right place. And, I had a team tell me the other day, well, we are just raising our fees on things that insurance doesn't cover because, the insurance reimbursement ain't going to go up anyway. And that's just more adjustments we have to take off. And I said, well, let's look at what % of your practice is insured and what % of your practice is not insured. And they only had 40% of their practice insured. So I'm like, okay, so you've got 60% of your practice not insured, and you're not going to raise your fees for 60% of your practice just because insurance reimbursements aren't going to go up and you don't want to see those adjustments come off of the 40%? I mean,
I just realized I said Dandy. It's actually Darby. I don't know why I said Dandy.
Yeah, I was like, Dandy. Okay.
It's going to be Dandy. It's going to be a Dandy deal.
That's all right. You're allowed. After I screwed up tonight, you're allowed.
I was looking at that going, that doesn't look right. Dandy.
Dandy.
This is not scripted. These are not scripted meetings, right?
It's been topsy-turvy day over here, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we all know Darby. I was about to Google Dandy Dental Supplies and see where it's
a new company I'm starting.
It's 9 o'clock my time. I'm ready for bed. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my goodness. Anything else? Eric, we didn't I put on the list that we talk about ideas for scheduling production in the summer, because this is
vacations, things like that, getting coverage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just say this: if you have assistants, you have got to train them to be admin. Your assistants have got to be trained to be admin more than ever. I mean, Dr. Netzley does this a phenomenal. I know, Paula, you guys did a seamless team, but if you have RDAs who are really good at what they do, we're not trying to take them out of that, but they've got to know how to run the front desk if need be. If you can, and you can take it next level, you can take someone who's admin, teach them how to take x-rays, teach them how to turn a room over, something like that. Heidi, office manager here at office I used to manage, she took my space as I left that. She's got her x-ray license, as an office manager. I mean, these are the things that we've got to do more of. We've got to do more cross-training.
Yep. More
than ever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've got an endodontist client who hired a hygienist just to inject.
Oh, wow.
She's just doing his injections for him. So there's got to be just more creativity, more flexibility in our teams, so that when you schedule, you can maintain an ideal day scheduling, blueprint.
Yep.
And just because someone's out, I see the single column stuff. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, exactly. I see, it's like we said today earlier, Eric, extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. And if you keep doing what you're doing, and it doesn't apply to our current situation. So we have to keep thinking a different way. And I love what Patty Lund says. He's a dentist in Australia.
Yeah.
And I use a lot of his cross-training ideas.
Do you use his accent when you?
No, I can't quite do that. You're the accent guy, right? Can you do it?
Not on the spot. No, I'd have to
Can
be.
you be an
more-
Aussie?
I'd have to hear some things. So there's shrimp on the barbie. I don't know. It would have to be. Yeah, no, it'd be horrible.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So he says new ideas are like little babies. We need to protect them. And what usually happens in team meetings, somebody comes up with a new idea and we want to kill it. Kill it quick. Because that means change. It means anxiety. It means I have to get out of my comfort zone, and people don't want to do that. But we have to embrace those new ideas. Doctors need to embrace new ideas. Office managers need to embrace new ideas. If you want your team to be engaged in a meeting, that engagement that we just had up here a few minutes ago, that document, part of it is learning how to get your team to talk in a meeting or share in writing their ideas. And then we can't shoot them down when they share a crazy idea.
This goes back to what we talked about first with engagement.
Exactly. Yep. That whole document. If you want 87% of your team to hang out with you, then we got to engage them.
Stay. I would also say, we spent some time talking about at our mastermind. I loved Art's, what he brought to that meeting and everything. And really what I took away from is, do you have a 401k plan in your practice? And do you have a vesting process in that to retain your team for 6 years or more?
Yeah.
Without that vesting part, what are they going to stick around for? So it's got to be worth it. And for 3%, I mean, you're talking about, somebody who's making $20 an hour, you're talking about 60-cent raise that you're going to match funds on their 401k. It's just so worth it to have a 401k plan in place. And I know there's an administrative fee to do that, but
yeah,
that to me was a huge takeaway of employee
it
retention.
really was.
Is saying, hey, be engaged in our retirement plan with us. We're investing in you. And I think to me, that's still such a no-brainer for offices to figure out how to do. And so, yeah.
I think one of the questions was that we discussed about that too was, well, how do you get a millennial to be excited about a 401k? You should tell them they can borrow from it.
Hey, here we go. You eye on that car?
Yeah, right. Not that we recommend that you do that, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's about time to wrap it up. And anybody else have anything? I know several of you are on mute tonight, been driving, and we appreciate all your contributions and your questions. Anything else that you want to share? Chat or unmute and let us know. Lyn, it was great having you on the call.
Oh yeah, I finally got the time today, because whenever Eric calls out, you can join our meeting. Well, I'm not working, and Alaska's like 4 hours later.
She was on 4 p.m. The meeting started at 4 her time. She's still seeing patients.
Yeah,
so
still seeing patients. That's right. That's right.
Now.
And then we have our Zoom camps, and it's 6 a.m. Alaska. So now at least you're on Pacific time, right?
Yeah, I'm Pacific time right now in Vegas, but Alaska's his own time zone. So
right.
But we started at 6 o'clock that day, I think it was.
Yeah.
6
So
a.m.
at least it's 7 a.m. It'll be for you now. And I'm ready for lunch by the time we get started. All right, everybody. It was fun being with you. Thanks, Dr. Allgood, and for sharing. And we had another doctor on for the first time tonight. So thank you. And I hope to see you at the retreat. If you got questions, we'd love to entertain those questions for you.
Anybody that's looking to add an associate or think about what's my vision for retirement? How do I want to transition my practice? How do I want to upscale my practice? That's what we're going to be mastering. How do you grow in a healthy way and not just wing it and go, well, I'm going to add an associate, or I'm going to sell my practice. There's so many different ways to do it, and we're going to help you navigate how to do that and create a plan.
If you are an associate and you want to buy,
yes,
I mean, we want that big discussion. We're going to have such a great time. I'm so excited about this discussion. So
that's right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.